Flight attendant notices baby alone on the plane, is astonished when realizing why. Jessie looked at the list of people on the flight and saw that the baby's name wasn't there. She felt worried because something didn't seem normal. She asked other people on the plane if they knew anything, but nobody did. Jessie went closer to the baby, hoping to find some clues about who they were or who was taking care of them. But what she found was even more worrying. Attached to the baby's blanket was a note that said, "Please take care of him." This made Jessie even more worried and confused. Even though the baby seemed fine, Jessie knew she couldn't leave him alone, especially since he wasn't listed on the flight's official list. Feeling worried, Jessie knew she had to tell the cabin crew and airport staff right away. She let out a small scream in her concern, which scared some other passengers. After telling the cabin crew about the baby and the note, they also got worried and told the pilot. The pilot then contacted the airport authorities about the situation. But their response was strange. Sensing that something wasn't right, the airport officials quickly called the police and arranged for a medical team to meet the flight when it landed. It was getting more serious than they thought. The police started looking for the baby's parents right away. They checked the airline's records and looked at airport cameras but found nothing. They also asked the other passengers if they knew anything. Meanwhile, the passengers on the plane were taking care of the baby. Jessie stayed with him, trying to comfort him. But the baby's health was getting worse fast. He was saying things that nobody understood. Luckily, there was a doctor on the plane who checked him and realized he needed to go to the hospital right away. But the flight still had a long way to go, and the baby couldn't wait. Everyone agreed that the baby's health was the top priority. The flight control wanted to make an emergency landing because the baby was at risk and needed medical help as soon as possible. Despite the police's efforts on the ground, they couldn't find any clues about the baby's parents or how to contact them. There was no one visible on the CCTV footage because of a malfunction. The doctor knew that every minute was important for the baby's survival. The police were also curious about the note and asked the pilot about it. He explained that the note had a mysterious message with some numbers. It said, "Please take care of him," but didn't give much detail about the baby or who was. Jessie gave the numbers to the police, and one officer recognized a pattern. Using the numbers, they found coordinates that helped narrow down the search for the baby's parents. It was like following a trail left behind by whoever left the baby. The doctors did tests to identify the baby and find his parents, but they didn't find any clues at first. They knew they were missing something important. Then, the officers had good news, they decoded the whole message. The coordinates led to a house where a woman named Megan lived. Following the coordinates, the police arrived at a remote house. At first, it seemed deserted, but when a light turned on, they knew someone was inside. Knocking on the door didn't get a response, so they had to force it open. Inside, they found an elderly couple who were surprised and confused by the sudden intrusion. The police demanded answers about the baby, but the couple had no idea what they were talking about. They didn't have a baby, and they didn't know anyone named Megan. The DNA test didn't match anyone in the database, but the doctors suspected they needed to test Megan too. However, Megan refused to cooperate at first. She insisted she had nothing to do with the baby and didn't want to take him home. The police had enough proof to make Megan cooperate, so she had to agree. Megan allowed the doctors to do a DNA test on her. She kept saying she didn't know anything, and the detectives started to believe her until she made a mistake that surprised everyone. Megan was quickly taken to see the baby alone, but she burst into tears and couldn't control herself. There was definitely more going on than what she wanted to tell her husband. When Megan finally saw the baby, she fell to her knees and cried tears of happiness and relief. She was overwhelmed with emotion and thankful to the medical team and the police for saving the baby's life. The detective asked Megan for answers about how the baby ended up on the flight. Then, one of the doctors came in with a strange explanation. The DNA results had come back with something surprising. Megan was related to the baby. Megan knew she had to tell the truth, but before she could, her husband entered the room. Megan explained that the baby's mother, her daughter, couldn't take care of him and sent him to them. But when they realized the baby was sick and needed help, they got scared because it raised too many questions. In the end, the baby stayed with his grandparents, and the police closed the case.